Tyler Shough and Danny Stutsman. It's two Saints rookies trying to prove that they are part of this team's future. So against Miami, look, Shough threw two costly interceptions, but he also delivered some big time throws, including 1 inches away from a game winning touchdown with 40 seconds left. Stutsman made a crushing highlight tackle that I'll break down for you against De'Von Achane, but he did show some coverage limitations, especially on a play against Aaron Waller. So film room breaks down whether these rookies are secure in their futures in New Orleans or not. Let's talk about it. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. 15 seconds. Now, before we jump into the Tyler Shough footage, and Stutsman is really the one play against Achane. Point I got to make and something, and I got to put in context. The point is, Shough, I thought, had a very up and down game all day. Did some things extremely well most of the time, did it pretty well. But his two bad plays were backbreakers and in a major contribution to losing that game. So we're going to start with those and kind of work our way up to some of the better stuff. But I wanted to point out a lot of his good throws are already in the Vele video, and I'll post it up here somewhere. So I didn't concentrate as much on his better throws. But between this one and that one, you can kind of put it together, what he looked like. Now, the context, because I kind of alluded to it when I broke the film down. But on that drive, when he threw the first interception at the end of the first half, my opinion, Kellen Moore put the offense in general in a very bad position. Here's why. You had 11 plays prior to that. That was the 12th play of the drive. First 10, you had 7 running plays for 32 yards. You had 2 pass plays for a combined 10 yards and 1 penalty assessed, a defensive hold on Seattle. The 10th play, the play prior to that, was a first down incompletion. You had it 2nd and 10, a minute 16 left to go. Clock stopped. You're on about 24-yard line. You need to get points right here, but more importantly, you need to get points without giving the ball back to Seattle to get points back. And we come out with 11 personnel on this play, and then immediately empty the backfield 5 wide with Devin Neal lined up as a receiver in shotgun formation. And you kind of tipped your hand, as I talk about in the breakdown, about what's going on, how the Dolphins were able to defend it. But more importantly, you gave up that kind of strategic advantage of running the ball almost all the way down the field on that drive to get you in that position, abandoning the run, not starting the clock, not trying to work a little more clock and get points, because even if you only held to 3, the biggest thing right there is you needed to get points at the end of the half and not allow them to score any. That being said, the result of the play is 100% on Shough because he committed the cardinal sin of staring down a receiver and doubling down on that cardinal sin by doing it in front of a very good veteran quarterback in Rasul Douglas. So we'll break down Shough. I'll show you the great play by Stutsman. Y'all all probably know what it is. Then I'll be back to kind of wrap up Stutsman and wrap up the whole video. So despite my problems with Moore's play call and decisions right here at the winding down the end of the first half, this is totally on Shough. Hopefully this is just a rookie mistake that he will never, ever make again. They're only rushing 4. They're dropping 7. You're not quite in the red zone, but it's still a compressed field. You have 7 pairs of eyes staring back into a backfield with no running back. So they're anticipating pass unless Shough comes running out of there on some type of design run or scramble. And even then, you have 7 pairs of eyes on him, and it's going to be tough to do much of anything. And you just made it impossible to do anything when you're going to stare down Olave, who's in the slot the whole entire time. It's that right outside corner, Rasul Douglas, is a veteran NFL cornerback. If a cornerback is a veteran and been around in the league a while, he's not dumb. In fact, he's probably pretty smart in situations like this. He's looking straight through Olave into the backfield, right at Shough the whole time. And he is jumping this route from the get-go. He doesn't care that this would normally be a responsibility for him to take Tipton on the outside, pass him off to that safety. Safety's well aware of what's going on. He was coming over to pick Tipton up anyway. Results in an easy pick. This should have been a pick six. Give some props here. Dylan Radens hustling down the field and making basically what amounts to a shoestring tackle right here to save a touchdown. As it was, they get a field goal out of this. We don't get any points. They end up with 3. To me, Shough was put in a bad position. He had options to get out of it, scramble, run, throw it away. Still had a minute 16 left on the clock. You still had plenty of time. You didn't need to force his ball in there, but what you definitely didn't need to do was stare down Olave the whole time. Now, quite the opposite here on the second interception that was extremely costly. This was, in my mind, a complete 4-point swing. An example of where Kellen Moore does the right thing, dials up, in my opinion, a great play call. This started out with Vele in the slot on the offensive right next to Chris Olave. They put in motion to the offensive left, isolating Olave. So now they know there's some type of man look, probably with safety help. And absolutely, because once they realize Vele is set, that safety comes all the way back towards Olave. This should tip Shough exactly what's going on. They're double teaming Olave. And I think the play call, they kind of figured this was coming because they're crossing Vele out of the slot, which means he gets a free release. Now, Minkah Fitzpatrick, another veteran defensive back who's definitely not dumb, realizes instantly what's going on. He knows it's man. He knows there's safety help. There's going to be double team on Olave. Olave is going to clear out a lot of space right around the goal line between that right hash and the sideline. So he's got to get in there. At this point, he's looking through Vele back at Shough, and he knows exactly where this ball is coming, and he undercuts the route. So picking it up from the end zone view, Olave's cleared out the space. Now, right now, anything out in front of Vele and up a little bit is good. Even better would be placing a ball, anticipating what's going on, and placing that ball not quite on the goal line, but a little, not all the way to the back line, like the previous play when they scored the touchdown, but similar. Give him some space to move into the end zone, even a step or two, where he can try to get a little separation away from Fitzpatrick, who's undercutting this route, and put Fitzpatrick in a position where the corner was in literally the play right before, where he's got to try to figure out, can I jump and get this ball away from Vele, which is going to be very, very tough in that situation, or do I turn around and try to break it up once he catches it, which I think Vele in the second half proved that once he gets two hands on a ball, it's very, very tough to get it away from him. But by trying to put that ball on him, and even worse, he doesn't put it even on him, he puts it on his back hip. And that is definitely a 4-point swing, because you can see Olave has taken both those defensive backs all the way to the back corner. There was plenty of space to operate there. Anticipate that throw, lead him a little bit, let him go up and get a ball in a contested catch situation, because Fitzpatrick was on his hip the whole time. Everything was working on this play to tie the game up until the actual throw. And this is a play I think kind of shows why basically the coaching staff, I think, a lot of fans, me included, some of the media, really like what Shough brings to the table, and is, I don't want to say any or all of us is all in, but seeing a lot there going, this could turn into something if he keeps getting better and not reverting back to the two things he did on those two interceptions, both of which were back-breaking plays for us. Because this does not start well for the Saints. We have Vele and Olave at the bottom of the screen. Miami this is obvious, some type of cover 4 where they're playing quarters back there on the field deep, trying to take away go routes or anything deep, more than willing to give up a short pass or trying to do something to make Shough hold the ball, let the pass rush get home, because the two things that can't happen right here are taking a negative play like a sack, or taking a check down or intermediate pass over the middle and getting tackled in the field of play. Both of them, not really what you want to do in a 2-minute situation. Despite the fact this is being a cover 4, and that safety back there on the close to the right hash, peeking back in the backfield, this is kind of cover 4, but we're going to take Olave out of the play, and this is going to be a double team. But this situation, you only have 4 receivers in the route. Everything is covered up. The pass rush, not too bad yet, but both edge rushers are starting to get some real depth, and Chuck's going to have to get rid of the ball, step up, or think about scrambling out of there. And if he scrambles out, he's got to get to the sideline. So he's going to take the deep shot on Olave, despite the fact you can clearly see there's a double team coming right there. And normally I would say this is a bad decision, and I think it might be. Maybe you just throw it away, or maybe he takes a chance of trying to get out the pocket to the left and try to get to the left sideline, see if he can pick something up, or just get out of the tackle box, throw it away, and let's go to 3rd and 2, right? But good Lord, does he throw a pass in there that the safety trying to get over and double team, he's late. He can't even get there. And I feel like the whole play, he was anticipating to get there to be the second member of that double team and just couldn't do it. And right here, that is a dime. Neither defender has a chance to defend this ball. And there was some text flying around in the after this play, and I think with the family text chain, and I think all of us were of the opinion, Chris Olave, you've got to find a way to come up with this ball. That's the go-ahead touchdown. The type of play you need in these situations to basically snatch a victory out of the jaws of defeat, and you were inches away from doing it. I really don't want to bang on Olave. It's not an easy catch, but that's just the one game of inches away from stealing this game on the road and coming out of there with a pretty big win. This is one we showed in the Vele video, and this was pointed out in the comments that, and I think some people consider this a mistake, and it kind of is in a way, but also in a way you had a successful play on this. So I noticed that Olave breaks wide open on this play when we were doing the Vele video, but like I responded in the comments, that video was more the focus on Vele and not the fact that even though Shough didn't do anything wrong on this play, he could have done something even better than what he did. So coming right off the play action, and he is looking left. And Olave has just broken through in that safety. The one guy back there who's standing on the 35 on the opposite hash, actually on the other side of the opposite hash, is looking down at Vele. Like they're trying to jump Vele right at the sticks and not let him catch a ball. He looks away from Olave and gets it in there to Vele. Now, you did pick up a first down. You kept the drive moving, or moving the chains, kept the drive going, rather. But you're looking at this right now, what I'm looking at, in a split second before that turn to put the ball into Vele, he drops it into Olave. There's nobody on that field catching Chris Olave at this point. He'd have caught it roughly around the 30. You're going to watch him house a pass 70 yards, a touchdown. And that's the type of big, explosive play that can break a defensive back. It really is. You know how we know? We've seen it happen to us. You missed a big opportunity here, but you didn't necessarily have a bad throw here or a bad decision or a bad outcome. You just passed on the chance, I guess the best way to say it, for the ultimate outcome that you could have gotten on this play. Now, moving on a little bit to, let's, be honest. Tyler Shough did some very, very good things in this game. A lot of it is on the Vele video that we focus on him. Some very good throws there, but this is a great play to Olave to score a touchdown. Because initially, he's wanting to throw this ball in on the left side. We've got some combo routes going there, and Miami is all over it. They basically have 4 defenders defending 3 receivers here. The check down on the right-hand side is there, but they've got a linebacker covering up on that and one defender on Olave. And this is one where Shough does a great job of, once again, those edge rushers are getting behind him, so he knows he's got to move up in the pocket, and he's going to slide right a little bit. I think his intent may have been at first to come out of there running, but right here, he's looking upfield. And I love the way that he constantly, when he gets in these situations, is always looking up the field, or down the field rather, and looking to get the ball to somebody out there to make a play. And with the scramble drill, Olave does a great job of moving. There is nobody defending anywhere on the right side of the end zone. Olave knows it. Shough sees it. And this is one, that's the type of throw I wish he'd have thrown on the 2-point conversion to Vele, but he gives it to Olave, does, yeah, go up, high point that thing, come down in the end zone. Makes it look like a relatively easy touchdown when it really wasn't, because Miami had jumped everything on this play. It looked to be shut down long enough to get some pressure on Shough. Does a little escape, gets in the scramble drill. He and Olave on the same page, touchdown. Despite only having 12 defensive snaps on the day, Danny Stutsman makes his presence known, at least in the running game, at least on this play. This probably the Saints' biggest highlight. No, it is the biggest highlight, because we didn't do much in stopping De'Von Achane all day long outside of this play by Danny. So they're going to motion into a fullback and then have the tight end motion in and out of the formation. That's telegraphing it's a run to the right, and it is. So you have the tight end and the fullback basically leading on a pitch. Now, Cam does a great job of jamming up right on the edge in the run game, slowing down one blocker coming off of him, taking on the fullback. So effectively, two of the blockers available, doesn't get to Stutsman. The tight end has already released outside going to get Taylor. So Cam pops Stutsman open for a free run in Achane, and he does a great job of filling the hole, squaring up. So Achane cuts it in, tries to bounce it out or go over him. It doesn't matter. Stutzman's in position to make the stop. And he does it with authority. Roman Reigns WWE style spear, and just drops him like a bad habit. And this is the type of play where you're excited. I know I was when I saw it. Wow, that was a shot. Kind of play that'll pump a defense up and kind of establish, a young player, a rookie, that, hey man, look, you come in here. I'm gonna lay the lumber on you. I'm gonna tackle you hard. I'm gonna bring you down hard. Type of stuff we really, really want to see from Stutsman. And I'm pretty sure his running game is very, very sound in the limited amount of snaps that we've seen him in, and we'll break down his stats in a minute. But I think this is real indicative, and we've seen in other film rooms some plays where he's very similar, the way he can run, Phil, tackle efficiently, and hit you pretty hard while he's doing it. So the Stutsman play, I loved it. Just in that part of the game, we hadn't had anything to cheer about. Now, I did a lot of cheering on that one. I was really hoping to see him repeat it again, but I guess doing it one time was pretty amazing. Now, there really wasn't much to the video clip to break down the play I was referring to, the in coverage where he struggled a tad with Waller. Basically breaking it down, Waller was lined up. It was two linebackers on the field, and we were showing a 5-man front, and we sent 5. But it was DeMario and Stutsman. Originally, Stutsman was in the middle. DeMario was playing more of a weak side to the left. They sent a man in motion, and it kind of shifted everything, and Stutsman found himself in the spot where, because of that motion, Darren Waller, who originally was the wide man in the line of scrimmage, was now technically the slot because the motion man Waddle went outside of him. So it kind of changed things up a little bit. They went play action, and this play was actually the interception by Kool-Aid. They went play action, so the linebackers have to make sure it's not a running play, and then they have to start getting into their drops and picking up any players coming into the area. He was it wasn't egregious, but about a step late on Waller, who was coming to the middle of the field into his zone, getting in the drop and picking up Waller. Kind of grabbed him as he went by. Luckily, no yellow hanky hit the ground on that play. They probably could have called defensive holding at that point. And he got in his drop after that, kind of recovered. The ball was already in the air on Tua's bad decision, and Kool-Aid was picking it. So it didn't really hurt us. But the reason why I wanted to bring it up without breaking it down, because that's all there really was to it. To a larger point, I'm starting to look at Stutsman's numbers. He's starting to get enough snaps and enough playing time. And I also wanted to compare him to Pete Werner because before I did this, in my mind, Stutsman has shown, and why I definitely want to show that highlight clip, he can stop the run. He is a run stopper. He understands run fits. He can tackle. He can hit hard. He can do a lot of the stuff, and especially it looks like moving downhill like Pete Werner. A lot of ways, he's a lot like Pete Werner in defending the run. But I felt like I don't think he's there yet in coverage. Really nothing I've noticed ever on pass rush, and we'll cover those snaps in a second. But felt like he's a younger, more athletic version of Pete Werner, I feel like. And I'm like, and I mentioned it, several times. I think over the last few weeks when talking about Stutsman, it's like if he starts getting it together and really start cutting in more and more into Werner's playing time, there could be something brewing here. I think he's a young man you definitely have to keep your eye on for the remainder of the season because these 5 games could be extremely huge for him. Now, for Stutsman, it's a small sample size. There's no getting around it, but especially compared to Werner. But in the 8 games that he's actually played, and we're only looking at his defensive snaps and Werner's defensive snaps, straight off PFF, where they can break everything down so that any special team snaps or any other snaps they have are not included. So he's behind, but he's been steadily pacing himself to get more and more snaps in so many key situations, and it's eating into Werner snaps more than anybody's. So it's something to pay attention and take notice of, no doubt. But the games played, Stutsman's played 8, Werner 13. Defensive snaps, Stutsman has 88, Werner has 501. Now breaking them down in the run defense, Stutsman 59 snaps, Werner 241. In coverage, Stutsman 24, Werner 230. Pass rush, Stutsman actually has 5, which I found surprising. I thought maybe it was 1 or 2, but not much more than that. 30 by Werner. So when you let's break down the 3 individual snaps. So in pass rush, Werner, in his 30 snaps, 1 sack and 3 hurries. Stutsman has 0 stats as regarding hurries, pressures, nothing in those 5. Coverage, and this is where it starts getting a little curious. Werner has allowed 24 receiving yards in his 230 snaps. Stutsman has allowed, 24 receptions, in those snaps. Stutsman has allowed 3 in his 24. Werner's allowed 291 yards at a 12.1 average on those receptions. Stutsman 11 on his 3 for 3.7 average in receiving yards. The passer rating against, and this is the one where I just cocked an eyebrow, because Werner, no big surprise at 116.5 is what he gives up to quarterbacks. Stutsman, 81.9. Now, when you look at their run defense numbers and tackles, Stutsman, 14 solos, 5 assists. Werner, 50 solos, 16 assists in 5 more games and a lot more snaps. Found that a little surprising. Now, Stutsman has missed 3 tackles on the year, so his missed tackle rate's 13.6%. Werner's missed 13 at 16.5%, and that's a flag. Werner has historically been a very good tackler, and when you're looking at that missed tackle rate, you start getting close to 20 and going above that, you're probably getting in danger of losing your job. Really, the ideal number where everybody's very, very happy is 10% or below, but that's the top end. So if you come in that low teens or mid teens, not too bad. So Werner's 16.5, a little on the high end, but for him, that's extremely high. It's only the second time in his career that his missed tackle rate's been above 10%. And prior to this, it was his total for the his career was south of 9, and these missed tackles have kind of crept that up a little bit. So, he could explode and do Pete Werner things, but not likely because he's losing snaps to Danny Stutsman. Defensive stops. Stutsman has 8. Now, what a defensive stop is in PFF's terminology, it's a big win rate for the tackler, which encompasses a lot of things. Could be a run stuff where basically 0 or negative yards on a running play. It could be a third down tackle or a fourth down tackle, stopping someone short of the sticks and creating either punting situation or turnover or down, something like that. It's big wins for the defense, specifically for the person making the tackle. So in Stutzman's limited snaps, he has 8 this season. Werner has 26. But if you break that down to percent of snaps, that's 9% for Stutzman, 5% for Werner. So Stutzman, very small sample size. Look, I am not reading. I'm no grand pronouncement here on any of these numbers by any stretch of the imagination, but I found it very curious that when you look at averages and you're kind of trying to figure out exactly what you have in the two, I think it, to me, confirms my suspicion. You probably have at least Pete Werner run stopping ability in Danny Stutsman. The question is coverage and pass rush. Really low numbers there as far as snap counts, especially the pass rush. But I've always been critical of Pete Werner's coverage ability. And looking at Stutsman, if over these last 5 games, if he can get enough snaps to really get that sample size big enough, so when you revisit these numbers, and I'm thinking we will at the end of the season, once after game 17 is played, seeing where is that correlation between the two. Here's the big thing. When you're trying to rebuild like we're trying to do, and you definitely want to develop younger players, like they're obviously trying to do with Stutzman at a much faster rate than previous staffs, and I say that with plurals, did with rookies. You got to kind of keep your eye on these last 5 games because with more experience in more development during the last course of the season and cutting into playing time where he's able to do it on the field, I'm gonna go back to the Waller play. If his recognition is just that much quicker, he's not grabbing Waller as he's going by. He's actually able to pick him up or get into his drop or whatever, whether it was a matchup or get into a zone and take him away and pass him off to Sanker, who was behind him, whatever it may be. That's the kind of thing I hope, experience and development, hands on. It doesn't get any more hands on. And hey, Rook, you're going out on the field and you're going to have to figure this out against a team that has De'Von Achane running the ball and Darren Waller playing tight end. Good luck. Let's see what you got. So I think for the most part, though, it was only 12 snaps. He threw a big play out there. He wasn't lost in coverage on that play on Waller. And I think that's the key, really, that I take away from. He had one play where he got kind of demolished by one of the guards for Miami on a 9-yard run by Achane, but even then, he popped right up off the ground and got in on the tackle and ended up recording an assist to help clean it up. So right now, out of the rest of our rookie class outside of Shough, I'm kind of on I think Riley, Sanker, and now Stutsman, or the three. And I think all three, especially Sanker, and now Riley's putting his nail in the wall, going, "Yep, I'm going to be here, and I'm going to be a big time part of this." I think Stutsman is just like this far on the verge of being able to get there, and I really hope he does. I'm pulling hard for him. I liked him since we drafted him, so I'm biased because I was going, "Oh my god, I can't believe we got this guy when we got him. He should have been drafted sooner." So we'll see how it plays out. But as we're looking through the rest of the season, I got my eyes on you, Danny Stutsman. So to wrap it up, it's really a question. Answer it, So are Shough and Stutsman part of the future of this team? And I think the Miami film reinforces that Shough probably is, but in my mind, he needs to show a lot more consistency in decision making, ball accuracy, and placement, because that was two of the things that either held him back a little bit, like in the case of missing the wide open Olave, or being very, very costly in the case of the 2 point conversion to Vele. But I think his ceiling is really high. And that Miami game also showed that the ups are really can be up there with some of the stuff he's capable of doing. I think Stutzman, on the other hand, is trending up. And like I said, I don't know if you can make any big proclamation about him, but just kind of getting a feeling. Yes, he could join Sanker and looks like Riley and get in that mix of going. They may not any of the three be all pros, but I think you have the makings of very solid football players that are going to fit what Brandon Staley wants to do. And the defense has started to come around. I think some of these young players are a big part of it. Who knows in the future if you keep getting them the experience and more importantly, you keep developing them, what they can turn into. To me, that's the big question. But I think Stutzman earned right to get not only playing time right now like he's gotten, but more of it. See if he can join the group of Shough, Sanker, and more than likely Riley. And definitely Banks, but we all knew which way that was going to go. So drop it down in the comments. Let me know give me both sides of it. Shough and Stutzman, what you see, what you don't see, what you like, what you don't like. It's everything. I think my opinion, I like most of what I see from both of them, and some things that I don't like, I think can be fixed and not be problematic, and we can go from there. So, first time here, you like what you saw, please, like, share, subscribe, all that great stuff. Definitely let me know what's going on in the comments. And this will be the last one for the week, and it's going to be a little late because this one took a little longer than I anticipated, but should see it Friday night, if not first thing Saturday morning. And from then on, we've got a tough one against Tampa Bay. And if I was going to be doing a preview prediction show, I'm not in high hopes of that one. But you never know. We'll see how it turns out. Maybe we can get it together a little more and steal one on the road. But regardless of what happens, we will definitely be here next week to do some video, have some discussions, and break it all down. So till I see you next time, I'm Tim. Peace out and who dat.